Well, hello there. Look at where we are. We are in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Sim Update 2 officially released today. So we'll give it a shot, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that things will go well. Won't really know until we give it an earnest try. I'm also doing a GA flight with a custom flight plan that I built in a little nav map, so we'll see how that goes. Going to be exploring what is the inspiration of the Chernarus map in DayZ. This is a request from Rumpo from a couple of weeks ago. We redeemed some shack points for that, so that's what we're doing today. We'll talk a little bit about Flight Sim 2024 as we go. We can talk about why I'm not using it as my full-time flight simulator at the moment. Maybe Sim Update 2 will nudge it in that direction. We shall see. But there are a couple of add-ons that I have really gotten to rely on that are difficult to give those up now. So we'll give it a shot. I do... it's funny, I'm of two minds of these exterior walk-around things. On the one hand, I like it. It's neat. On the other hand, there isn't a quick way to skip it, which I don't like. We are at Prague International Airport. We are at the South GA parking area. There are no other airplanes. I can't show you, say, intentions, traffic injection. I suppose we could try firing up beyond ATC, but I don't think I have a... No, I don't have a flight plan for this, so that won't really work. There's no SimBrief flight plan, so... And it doesn't do GA. And I don't think that I can make the sim... We can give it a shot, actually. I don't think I can make the sim display traffic, because for whatever reason, that just never works for me. Air traffic type, real-time online. And... There just never are any. I don't understand. I really don't. I don't know why I can't seem to get multiplayer to work in 2024. It makes no sense. I know that character voices controls the ATC, and I've turned that off. That's fine. I don't want that. Why are there no other airplanes? Multiplayer is on. Air traffic type, real-time online. We could try AI offline. But that's not really what I want. Typically I would turn this off. But real-time online, like there should be... I mean, real-time maybe because it's real-time and it's in the middle of the night or early morning there. So maybe that's why? I don't know. I don't suspect this is going to make any difference whatsoever. But maybe it will. So anyway, so we're in Prague. This is not near Chernarus, but it's the biggest airport near the area, so we'll take off from here, I figured. I think the flight plan I created is only about an hour-ish. We'll see, but there's a really good map that I actually linked in the post at shacknews.com in the article for this stream that lists some work that somebody else has done on like outlining what all the real-world landmarks are and how they relate to the game's Chernarus map. And I kind of use that as a guide to build this little flight plan that we're going to be trying out. I did want to try, let's see if I can track this flight from my VA as well. should theoretically start tracking unless it's we are at this location here, LKPR. Wonder if it will do it when we get into the airplane. Might be because we're in this current like walk around mode. Let's get in the airplane and let's see what happens when we do. I'm so tempted to hold down the middle mouse button, which is the button to zoom in when I'm walking around DayZ. This is a little bit more... This is actually really nice airport scenery. This looks quite detailed. And I will say that 2024 does do a much better job of like the on-ground graphics. So let's do our walk around here. Might as well do it properly. Let's start at the wing here and we'll work our way around. So let's check the flaps are moving. Okay, that's so dumb. Okay. So that started tracking my flight, and... Why did that button up there? Why does this one? What does that... Why does this button... Well, that's not what I clicked on, is it? It's because it's a stupid... Yeah, these dots are terrible. Like, this is just floating in the air. This is nothing. Okay, so this is what I really don't like about this. Like, I've done this. Still shows up in blue. Do I just leave my mouse over it for a little bit? Also, this is apparently just defying gravity by staying up. Okay, I had to do it a couple more times. Silly. If I can summarize 2024 in one word, or in one short little sentence, it's the UI is awful. Like, this is not the click spot. Sure looks like a click spot. Sure does, doesn't it? But no, this is the actual click spot, which makes sense, but it's not the one. You can't make this one turn green to a green check mark for whatever reason. I do like this livery, though, and I do like that it is, it's weird. It's called a dynamic livery, so even though it's clearly Canadian, the name is dynamic. So whatever this means in Czech is appropriate. Makes sense, which is cool. All right, let's remove the chocks. Let's just do the things that we need to do to get this thing off the ground, because the UI is awful. Let's get rid of all the red things. Those trucks are gone. Okay, I think we're good. Really curious to see how that's going to hold up with my flight tracking thing. So let's see if we get some displays popped out. That's good. I do need to adjust them. And that stuff is still broken without chase plane. This is the I'm really waiting for chase plane to be released for 2024 before I even consider flying 2024 on a regular basis. What the hell? Why is this not moving? So, is that just broken? What? Huh? Whatever. And this is the other thing, when it comes back, it goes to the wrong camera. So pretty much anything related to 2024 is still buggy. It just is. Buggy, buggy, buggy. I also love that you can click through, right through this. You click here, you actually flip breakers, which is, of course, exactly what you want, right? Like, that's always good to have. Okay, well, this works at least. So we'll open the throttle up a little. Let's see if we can get this to work. Nav lights. Beacon light. Good. Battery. Fuel pump. And let's just check real quick that the fuel is on both tanks. Yes, it is. Clear prop. Alright, now we can turn on the alternator. Avionics master. So I'll turn the pitot heats on. Now we can turn the fuel pump off. And most importantly, I can get my yoke back. Let's just have a quick controls check. That looks good. Okay. Now, I designed
stop the engines to request ground services.
Yeah, Coatl and other. Sorry, every one of my flight sim streams just turns into bitch fest about poor software, but I can't help it. Let's get the RPMs up to closer to 1,000 there, so we're not sputtering around too much. That's better. Let's see, does this still work? No. I'm gonna have to temporarily assign a button to that yoke. I don't use, like I said, because I usually use chase plane. Actually, let's try to do this in the settings. Let's do it in the settings. Let's see if we can test our luck some more by going into menus. Okay, current plane, Cessna 172 Skyhawk. You know what? Never mind. This is such a mess. It's just going to do... It is just 100% going to do the wrong thing. So I'm just going to add a button pressed here. End key. Done. Done. There we go. Now I can go outside, pan us around, which is what we're going to want when we're flying. So we can see... Hey, Axman. Yeah, we're doing just a baby plane today. Cessna 172. Okay, now, let's bring up the tablet, which is one of the things I quite like. I really like how it actually moves from the physical position of the plane, and you can use it here, to this. I do like this. I wish it was better. It's way better than any of 2020 doesn't have anything like it, so it's much better. But still, there's some things I wish it did better. But let's open that flight plan that I created. And let's send that to the avionics. This is a very nice touch because it just kind of pops it into here, which is really, really good. Really, really nice. Okay, now we'll look at this on the map here just briefly. So we are departing from runway 24, which I guess is up here. Yes, indeed. So we have a little bit of a taxi to go. Take off in that direction, and then we will turn and we will fly north. Pretty much just a straight shot for about 20 minutes or so over some nice countryside that is not yet Chernarus. But then we get into some interesting stuff. So those familiar with Chernarus, it's on a coastline, right? There's not actually a coastline here, but this river here is roughly the coastline of Chernarus. So we'll start here, we'll fly along this. I think Cherno is right here, waypoint 2. Waypoint 6 I think is Electro. We'll go up, we'll go across to Mogilevka, over to Zelenogorsk, up the west side, eventually getting to the northwest airfield, which is not actually an airfield in the real world. I mean, it is, but not at that location. But there is the area where we should be able to sort of imagine it. Head up through Severograd to Berezino and down the east coast before we take this long flight over to the right to an airport that does exist here that I believe is actually what inspired the Northwest Airfield. So it's like they took it from here and transplanted it into that area. And then we'll fly back to Prague and land where we are now. That is the plan anyway. How well we pull that off remains to be seen. But we've got the airplane started. I think we're going to just fly at... let's just start with 3,000 feet and see how we do from there. We'll get our taxi light on. We don't have any ATC or anything or traffic. Quick look at where we are at the airport here. We are down here and we need to get to runway 24, which is all the way up and to the right. So let's just give it a whirl and see what we end up with. Also turn the game sounds up a bit. Also set our flaps down to 1 notch. We can turn on the flight director. Let's have a quick look outside. So that actually does work. The rudder moves. The aileron's aileron, and that does that. Okay, park and brake off. And we're off, taxiing at least. I hope I have enough fuel. We should be able to have enough fuel. We should have enough fuel. I didn't do any math, though. So we're going to take the taxiway to the right up there. We actually get to taxi past through a bunch of this airport. It's a quite nice looking airport. Scenery by Tailstrike, I think it is. Am I dragging something behind me? Let's double check. Oh, thank God. You made me look. So yeah, I feel like 2024 looks quite a bit nicer than 2020, specifically the weather and the ground. But some of the planes I like to fly the most have in the past not been available to it yet. I did spend a bunch of time flying the Phoenix in it, which is great. The PMDG 777-200 is now out for 2024, and Inibill's A350 is also available for that. So actually, most of the planes, with the exception of the PMDG 737 and the iFly 737 MAX, are available that I like to fly on a regular basis. The other ones will come eventually. They're being worked on. But the thing that's missing for me now is Chase Plane by Parallel 42, and I kind of blame them for that because it's a complete rewrite of the camera system, and it is so much better than what's in 2020 or 2024. And I can't do it. I can't do the default camera system in 2024. It's awful. It's terrible. So I'm basically going to hold off on using 2024 for most of my flights until Chase Plane is available for flights in 2024. And they are working on it. And I have this hope that Sim Update 2 was the one that everybody was waiting for. I hope. So I'm hoping that once they, now that this is officially out, that they'll hopefully get to it soon. But time will tell. The performance of 2024 is usually also a fair bit better. In fact, I should have a quick look at my auto FPS thing here. What are we getting? Yeah, I mean, it's not great. 49 frames per second with frame gen on. But it is using the GPU. 99% GPU usage. At least I'm getting my money's worth. And it is custom scenery, so sometimes they can be a bit heavier, especially like pretty nice looking scenery like this. Let's taxi through the apron here to the runway so we can have a nicer look at this scenery. Since we've got the whole airport to ourselves, we might as well use it. But yeah, my hope is we'll get Chase planes soon for 2024, so there's a part of me that always, like, my 2020 works really well, and I do a lot of long-haul overnight flights, so it kind of has to work really well, because otherwise I'd lose a bunch of my flying time. But hopefully won't be too much longer, and I'll give it another try for 2024. Václav Havel Airport, Prague. Very nice scenery. big airport, but it always sure feels empty without AI planes. Once you get used to injected traffic through any source, really, it's kind of hard to go back to nothing. I suppose I could actually just fire up FSLTL. Can I do that? No, actually, I don't think I have anything loaded anyway. I don't think I have it installed in 24. So, if I read the map right, this should put us right at the end of runway 24 here. And we're going to fly runway heading for a little bit, and then we'll make a fairly sharp right turn and head towards the northwest, towards Chernarus. Thank you. Alright, let's see. Final checks. We already did flight controls checks. We'll switch on the strobes. The landing lights, taxi lights can come off. We're not doing with anything with the transponder. We do not care. Once we're lined up, we'll sync the heading bug and we'll take off in heading mode and go from there. Weather looks good. A few clouds, but we'll try not to fly right in the clouds. We'll try to stay underneath the cloud cover. Not sure actually what altitude the clouds are at. We can quickly consult active sky, which is what I'm using. Current, we can see these are wind directions at different altitudes. Nothing in there, I guess. Okay, well, regardless, we are good to go. So I said we'd sync up the heading bug. Let's turn on, we'll arm heading mode, might as well, and then we'll go into a vertical mode when we get there. Alright. Go. Oh, okay. Hello. It is windy. Alright, Microsoft. Okay. Calm your tits. Okay, cool. So that's... Good God. I really would love to understand why this never works. I'm gonna play with it a bit. let's turn our heading. Turn on course. And also, flaps up. Forgot about that. There we go. That seems like a decent intersect. And we should arm GPS or nav mode. And I don't know why Windows is reacting like it's just like, I don't know if you can see the mouse cursor like hopping around or barely moving at all, and then it changes screens completely. I don't know why that is. It does not do that when I use 2020. Like this jutteriness is, I don't know what that is. It's ridiculous. Okay. Jesus, the force feedback software is just hideous sometimes. When it first activates itself. First of all, I only downloaded a profile. I did not actually activate it. So again, it's just like this Chernarus software is, the hardware is amazing. The software is mostly crap. Why is it pulling down like this? What's happening? What is this? Settle down. I think it's got it now, but like, wow. Very, very touchy. I think 3,000 feet will do us just fine here, altitude-wise. We're probably some 2,000 or so feet above the ground. Just enough to deal with any shenanigans the sim or my hardware throws at us. And we'll have a nice view. We can look down on a certain town. So it's going to be a little bit. According to that, about 20 minutes before we get to Chernarus. But we have plenty of time. If for some reason we can't make it all the way back to Prague, we'll just land at the Northwest Airfield. Or the airport that inspired the Northwest Airfield. Hey, Rumpo, we are on the way. We're not quite there yet, so let me show you. If I can change the camera with this. So, we're currently here. We started in Prague, and we are heading to some custom waypoints that I made. Let's see. Oh, it's going to take forever. Can I not? You can't click and drag this, can you? No. I'll show you on the on this. This magenta line, that's our flight path. This blue line here, that's a river in the real world. That is the Chernarus coastline. This river is what they modeled the coastline after. So we're going to start down here, which is roughly like Belota, and then Chernarus up to Electro, and then we'll cut inland towards the west to Svetlojarsk, up the west side to the northwest airfield. There's not actually an airfield there, but it's a location where it is. One of these here is Green Mountain. Head up through Severograd and then over to Berezino and down the east coast. And then, if we have time, we're going to take this really long leg over to the right. And I believe this airport, LKMM, is what the Northwest Airfield is modeled after. So it's like they took this airfield and stuck it over here into Chernarus. So that's the plan. We're about 8 minutes from from basically arriving at the coast, if you will. So at the moment we are 8 minutes away from reaching the coast of Chernarus, which I think is just behind these mountains somewhere. I don't know why my mouse is so stuttery. I think 2024 still leaves a lot to be desired. Actually, oh no, sorry, the river. No, that's not the river. Okay, I just said, I was like, there's a river right here, but that is not the river we're looking for. We are flying nice and low at only 3,000 feet, so we should be able to get a pretty good view. And it'll be interesting to see if it actually looks similar in the sim. I know in real life it does. There's some really cool articles that have been written in the past and posts made from people posting comparable images and screenshots, like real photos and screenshots. And I mean, this is the Cessna 172, so it's about the easiest standard airplane to fly, and it's really good, especially with these Garmin GPS units in there. It's great. I'd probably had you fly this to learn, yes. I think if we're doing a tour, it's pretty slow, so it would take quite a while to get through Canada. There are other planes that use the same autopilot, the same system, but it'll be a little bit faster, a little bit more power. But you can't go wrong. This is like the old fallback that it just does a really good job. Dusty just redeemed pick next departure on Shack Air for 10,000 points. You did threaten that, Dusty. Lima Uniform Alpha for the next departure. Lima Uniform Alpha. What is that? Oh, it's you're talking about Lukla. Yeah, in Nepal. Okay. Departing. Well, aren't you nice? Thank you for making me depart from there, not arrive there. I will definitely do that. That should be really cool. The scenery for that looks great. Do you have a? Do you care where we fly to from there? Just somewhere not into. You'd like to have a loop done. Okay. All right. I'll see if I can't find some sort of Himalayan tour, because the landing part is definitely. I have done it once. It was a hard landing, but it didn't explode, and I didn't fall off the mountain or into the mountain. So it's definitely doable. So we'll give that a shot. Well, the crashes in Flight Sim are kind of... So I've got crash damage turned off for a variety of reasons, and not just because I don't want to lose a flight if I crash, but mostly because sometimes there are some really wonky things, like you're landing at an airport and there's suddenly like a 5-foot curb in the middle of the runway, or a wall, and you don't want to lose a flight because of that. So I have crash damage turned off, which means that if I crash the plane, it just kind of bounces around on the ground and gets all stuck. So I have done that once at that airport where I was landing and I slowed down too early, too quickly. So I basically missed the runway and just fell down into the jungles of Lukla. So that's happened before. We'll try not to do that next week, though. The landscape definitely does look very Chernarus-like. Yeah, loot that town. This one. There's probably some fresh spawn food there. There's a long barn. Might be a police station there, but I can't quite make it out. There's definitely a well in there somewhere. Probably a cow or two in the field, that's correct. So I think what we're coming up against here, I think these apartments building at the top here, I believe that is that area called Chap, maybe. The one that's like behind Chernarus, up on top of the hill, with a whole bunch of apartment buildings. Though it might also be this one over here. Actually, it's probably this one, because I believe this over here is Chernarus. Sorry, Cherno. So obviously this big metropolis on the left here, that's not part of the Chernarus map. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this area right here that we're heading towards are those apartment buildings on top of the hill behind Chernarus. It actually looks a lot like it because they do kind of curve around like this on top, and then they go this way a bit, and then down here it goes down towards... We would be flying over Belota Airfield in Chernarus right now. This is definitely very much like Chap. Which would make this area here Cherno. I mean, here's the train track, right? You can see the train track that's running along. Yeah, that's very recognizable. And if you imagine all this is water, it would be very, very obvious. This is that really tall hill. Just like to the east of Cherno. Yeah, the bend before Electro, exactly. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I built the map that... Wait, I'm looking at the actual screen, that a couple of waypoints will be, like, Electro will be over on the other side, which may not actually exist as a big city. I think it's smaller. This is basically Electro right here. And the church in Electra would be up there. The soccer field's down here. There actually is a soccer field by the look of it. This might be an actual soccer field at Electra. And then that path that goes up into, that we often go, and here's the little dam. I've been at this dam many times, and the hunting camp there. And there's actually a soccer field here. 100% soccer field right there. And I've done this little trail here through the woods, this road here that goes north from Electra so many times. Yeah, it's pretty cool how much it is actually the same as the map. You could, yeah. It's pretty amazing how much the landmarks actually look like the landmarks. I don't quite have the name of this town in my head right now, but we've been in this town many times. There's this small little, this area right down here, this small little grouping of houses. I've always been here before, and then you go through this field, and there is a big barn here, just like this. So this might actually be the house that we died in last week. I'm not sure if it was in this town or not, actually, but Pusta? Maybe it could be, yeah. It's very much the same layout with this big barn here. Oops, wrong way. Looks very, very similar. Oh, Mogilevka, okay, yeah. I think the inspiration for Green Mountain is also, I think it might have been this right here that we just flew past. I think this right here is Svetlogorsk, or sorry, Zelenogorsk. That's Zelenogorsk right there. Which we don't, for some reason we don't end up on this part of the map very often on the west side. Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking airplane for DayZ. You probably missed it at the beginning of the stream. I was on the airfield in third person walking towards the airplane, and I was so tempted to push middle mouse button to zoom in on the camera a bit. That's how real it feels. Yeah, I think you're right, Dusty. I don't think this side of the map is very much fun, but I also feel like we should go there more often. So, let's see. Now we are headed... We're headed up the west side. This should be Lopatino. Coming up back there. You went there once, it wasn't for you. Yeah, they did a really good job of making this look very realistic. Absolutely. So, I think the northwest airfield would sit somewhere in this open field here. Between this hill and that hill, like it's like in this area here. Because this, I believe, this is Grishino, which is on the east side of the airfield. So basically, this open field here is where Northwest Airfield is in the map. Obviously there isn't one here, but we'll fly over an airfield later that I think will look very similar to what they plopped in here. So Devil's Castle would be up on this this tree ridge there. For some reason moving the screen with my mouse is really painful. My mouse is being really wonky. Which also means that probably over here or something is where we used to set up our house in DayZ, like near these fields here. Because we are now turning a little bit to the north to our favorite place. Yeah, Devil's Castle would absolutely be up here. I guess our house would be like down here. This is Severograd over here coming up. And then you can kind of see, this is that northern route we always used to take, the northern highway there. So there's Severograd. There's probably some people getting murdered down there right now. I know it's a weird Stockholm syndrome with us in Severograd. We always end up there again. So Severograd, there are some of these apartments down there. There's the pub. If I can turn the camera, this is up towards the north here, which means Kamensk military is up in the trees somewhere up there. There's not a mine here, but there are those apartment buildings just below us here. They're pretty accurate. This turn here is just the same as in the game. There's the river, the road bending. This is Fergino, and we're coming up on Novo now. Looks just the same here too. There's the big center. There's all the industrial stuff in Novi. Yeah, it was probably a hunting camp. Was probably right there. Yeah, sorry, I keep screwing up the camera, but there's a hunting camp right there. It looks like it. Just off the wing behind us. This is where, what was that place called? Dusty would know right away. Also, Waldorf is up here somewhere. And then back here, you can see the river again, so that would be the coastline again. So that's, I guess that's Fet. That's Fet Lajarisk. And just over on our right is Kras and the Northeast Airfield, which also isn't an actual airfield here. But it sits right between this mountain here. That's that big radio. It's got a radio antenna on it and stuff. What's up, Slinky Jim? And there's the train yard. I mean, there's all the trains that are coming up to Svet. It really is amazing how they just took the satellite footage and just kind of like drew cities and towns just totally based on it. I think it's cool. I actually wish more games would do that. It's very interesting. I'm actually really impressed with the scenery in 2024 here because we know that Chernarus was modeled after this, but this is recognizable without like Google Earth or Google Maps. Like, you can totally recognize things. There's Berezino, I think we're flying over right now. This is one of those starter towns we always spawn at. I wouldn't be surprised if this here looks like a big orchard, maybe. Certainly these open fields here are very accurate. And then I think this intersection here is, what's it called, like Three Valley Gap or something? Yeah, that's right. We need a realistic map. Let's just take this area. It's actually a really good idea, though. If I was making a custom map for a game like DayZ, I'd probably try to find an interesting area in real life and duplicate it. Yeah, Stolichny, that's right. And then this ends up swinging back around to the south coast. So we're going to turn hard left here in a moment, and we're going to fly out towards an airfield that should be the inspiration for the Northwest Airfield. And probably when we get there, I'll turn the autopilot off. I might land there. I might do a touch and go, or at least fly really low to it. Kamishovo, yep. What a very unique area. Oh yeah, you're right. That does look a lot like the inspiration for Green Mountain, doesn't it? The big red and white candy cane. The autopilot is having a really hard time. Yeah, okay, that's not okay. Autopilot, that's not okay. Let's just fly towards this then for a second, since we were gonna hit the ground anyway. Interesting. That is definitely Green Mountain. It's even got the guardhouse. Wow. Alright, so this is now not part of the Chernarus area anymore, but it sure looks like this could be anywhere in Chernarus. Like, obviously, clearly their inspirations are from this entire region. That would be pretty interesting, yeah, if you actually build a base and, like, even in your own town, like your local grocery store. Now, I want to check something, because I think we have a fair bit of time, so I think I'm actually going to try to land at that Northwest Airfield-inspired airport, but I need to turn something off here. I do not know why my mouse is being so spastic. Very odd. It'll be interesting to see if that is flights of 2024 doing that, or if something happened while I was away for a couple days. So this actually is a nice way to show the path that we flew. So from Cherno down here through Electro, up over the Northwest Airfield to the northeast and around. think that is the airfield right there ahead of us. So we'll take a look. We'll do we'll circle over it, and I don't know if I can get out of the airplane and walk around. If I can, it's very slow moving, kind of, so might not do that. But somebody should look into whether or not Livonia is also based on a real location. And Sakal. I know Sakal is based on a real location, kind of, but that might be harder to actually see. But it'd be interesting if Livonia and Sakal are also done like that. It's interesting. This airport is not on Navigraph as an airport, but it does show up on the map. Good evening, Steve. How are you? You're just in time for the autopilot to do something dumb. Actually, not the autopilot. I can't blame the autopilot. I can blame the force feedback yoke. That's okay. We'll go hand fly from here. Don't think we'll land, but we'll do a little loop over it. There's a couple things that I was hoping to be able to see, and that is sort of the bunkers that exist on the Northwest Airfield in the sim. I mean, the similarities between this and the actual airfield in the game are that it's a long runway with a lot of wide open spaces on either side. Stuttering? I don't have... Oh, you know what? I think OBS is stuttering. Yeah, it is. That's weird. It was not doing that a minute ago. It's really struggling. It's not actually for me, it's just the stream. That's fun. I'll have to check in a minute. Yeah, you can see the similarities. Why is this? So this is all somehow 2024's fault. Because I'm getting the same sort of weird stuttering on my mouse. But I wasn't having that before, and I did have the same stuttering on the mouse, so... Terrain level of detail 500... What is going on? So I think it's auto FPS that's doing it actually here, this thing. Yep. What the hell? It had cranked the terrain level of detail to like 500. That's crazy. So I think, let me just reset the stats. The stutters look like they should be gone. My mouse problems are gone, so that's good. Let's go turn around and have another look at that airfield. Yeah, for some reason this little tool that is supposed to dynamically reduce details went off script and started increasing them to like 500, which is insane. I don't know why. It's like it stopped reading the fact that we were getting like 12. It's funny actually, we were getting decent FPS in the sim still. Just outside of it, everything else shit the bed. Alright, Rumpo, have yourselves a good night. Thanks for this. This was a good idea. That was fun, seeing all these similarities. Hope you enjoyed. And for everybody else, we'll be making a turn here in a moment back towards Prague to land there. And then, since we probably will have a little bit of time left in the stream, I'm probably going to fire up my A350 for the evening flight, so you can watch me set that up for a little bit. This is where the zombies are, yeah. That's right. If you've watched me, it's funny because it's not this particular area, but where we were earlier is an exact replica of the map of the DayZ game, the Chernarus map. And from up here, it was so immediately recognizable. Some of the towns, some of the places. Yeah, they were not like one-to-one replicas, but you could see the same even the patterns and where buildings were lined up and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. And you can see, like, it's a lot of this landscape, like these fields and stuff. Oh, I'm so relieved that my mouse is back to normal now. I don't know what... This is so strange, because auto FPS... I didn't have it on expert mode. I always usually do that, and give it a maximum TLOD. And it did not have that otherwise. Very odd. See, it does bump up the terrain level of detail again because it's a VFR flight, and that makes sense, but it should stop at... Oh, it'll go to 300 now, okay. That's not... So I think it can do it with the sim, but then it really makes everything else become very stuttery. We'll leave it in IFR mode. Frame gen on... the issue with frame gen is only on the 5000 series cards, which I don't have. I did update to the latest video card, the NVIDIA driver, though, which I was also afraid of. I did a lot of stuff here that I was scared of. I just realized I should actually go and pick an approach here. I'm gonna do... just to get us lined up nicely on INAV 24, vectors, no minimums. Load, and we are going to go... We'll just go direct to the FAF. There we go. Yeah, I guess with the 5000 series card, there is such a thing as frame gen, like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and apparently there are issues on 3 times and 4 times mode. I think what that is, I'm not 100% sure actually, because I've never looked into it because I don't have that kind of card. Frame gen on like my card is basically every second frame is guessed by AI. And I think it feels like 3 times and 4 times would be every, you know, every third or only every fourth frame is real, and the ones in between are interpolated. That would be my guess as to what that means. I could be totally wrong. But that stuff is probably pretty cool if it works, because it literally, with my, on the 4090 with just the regular frame gen, it basically doubles your FPS because only every second frame is real. So 3 times and 4 times could triple or quadruple it, potentially. It does cause artifacts, though, like you can see it. It's not that obvious here, but when I move, it's a little bit like shimmery and it tears a little bit. That's because of the frame generation stuff. It's much worse in 2020, actually, when I have like a heavy airplane loaded and scenery and stuff. Oh, now we're coming up against, up into Prague here, starting to leave behind some of the rural scenery, and looks like a bit more of a city over there. And then we'll be landing shortly. There does seem to be some strange ground texture issues. Like I see some rainbow colored buildings over there and some, saw that earlier. Otherwise the graphics have been really good. Now I don't know if this is possibly my map thing. It probably is. It's probably missing a texture for some reason. Like this checkerboard stuff here, I don't think this is the Sims fault. I think that's one of my add-ons fault. The what's it called? The map enhancement one. I suspect it's somehow not finding a texture, doing something funky there. But it's been really rare, and I've only seen this in 2024. I've never seen that before elsewhere, but. Yeah, the good old checkerboard. It's interesting, it's not pink though, it's weird white and red and green, but it's past now. They are artistic. They're trying to blend in or something with their checkerboard patterns. I do like these little, like, European towns. For some reason, that always looks nicer from up high than North American towns. Actually, it looks like we won't need to... We might end the stream a few minutes early once we've landed, but 2020 will not load fast enough for me to actually show anything with the A350. Alright, let's go land this puppy. The default sounds are actually really disappointing in this 172. Like the ventilation is so loud and the engines are so quiet. I'm not sure I really like that. Low fuel left. Alright, we could time that just right. Alright, let's find ourselves a nice parking spot at this very nice airport. Where are we? For some reason it's not fully displaying on this. It must be an elevation thing where the scenery is a bit lower than the map here, which is weird. Let's park at one of those. Should go down to the south apron, which is where the GA parking is, so maybe we'll head down there again. But this time we'll park not just in the middle of the open field there, we'll park at the actual south apron terminal. The livery is nice, yeah, I like that as well. And I actually really like it, the dynamic nature of it, where it, like that name on the side, Objevi Tourist, is dynamic based on where in the world you're flying this livery. Though the tail number, ironically, is not. That is a 100% a North American tail number, and I feel like that's kind of odd that they couldn't also have picked, you know, a nice Czech tourist name, but not a tail number that would be more common to actually have in the Czech Republic here where we are. So we're just going to park at the ABS Jet lot here because it's a nice looking hangar. They probably have good snacks. We probably should have gone around the side there instead of just cutting through here, but brakes on. And aircraft secured. Alright, 9 minutes before the end of the stream, but that's okay. I've gone over plenty of time, so we'll cut this one short a few minutes. That was a fun little flight. 2024 ran really well, so that's a good sign. No issues with Sim Update 2 on this admittedly very short and simple flight, but that is a good sign. We'll see if Chase Plane sees the light of day for 2024 one of these weeks, months, not sure, but I'm looking forward to that. Until then, thanks for hanging out, Steve, Rumpo, Dusty, everybody else that was in the chat. I will catch you all next week. We're going to be doing Lukla, both departing from and landing, so I got to try to find a little sightseeing tour through the Himalayas, which with hopefully not a crash either at the start or very end. So that's going to be exciting. I'll catch you all next week. Take care, everybody. Have a good week. Bye-bye.